présentation du concours du saut à la perche féminin international du 15e meeting de Montreuil. Le record du meeting 4,60 m, les minima pour les championnats d'Europe 4,50 m, les minima pour les Jeux Olympiques 4,73 m. Et on va commencer par celle qui porte le maillot du CA Montreuil 93, 4e des championnats de France l'été dernier, Noémie Tambry. Du stade Elle porte le maillot de l'Allemagne, un record à 4,60 m, 2 fois championne d'Allemagne, Jacqueline Estel. Elle a porté ce record à 4,56 m, 9 fois championne de Hongrie, Anga Kakla. Et un record à 4,55 m. L'équipe d'Arnaud du côté d'Esco, elle avait porté le maillot de l'équipe de France. Elle a plus haute marche du podium des championnats d'Europe ce soir du stade de l'athlétisme Marie-Julie Gaudin. Un concours qui sera sur votre gauche quand vous êtes situé dans la tribune principale. Au départ, le 110 mètres masculin, les minima pour les JO 13 secondes et 25 centièmes, pour les championnats d'Europe 13 secondes, 46 centièmes le record du meeting, 12 secondes, 99 centièmes, la FPF 2024 13,50. Au couloir 1, un record à 13 secondes et 63 centièmes, Elie Bakary, Belgique. Troisième des championnats d'Europe espoir. L'année dernière, un record à 13,47 de la clé 91, Erwan Sina. Couloir 3, 8e des Jeux de Tokyo, 3e des championnats du monde. En salle en 2018, un record à 13,24 de l'US Créteil, Aurel Monga. Couloir 4, un record à 13,14, 3e des championnats du monde en 2022, 6e des JO champions d'Europe en 2022, Acier Martinez, Espagne. Au couloir 5, 7e des championnats du monde en salle en 2018.
Good evening and welcome to the European Athletics coverage of the 2024 Meeting de Montreuil, a World Athletics Continental Tour bronze meeting. We are straight into action and the men's 110-metre hurdlers are currently on the start line. This is Romain Lecour of France, 13:42, his personal best, 13:59 this season. He's in lane 6. Lane 7 is Raphael Mohamed of France, 13:49, his personal best. In that pink Racing Club singlet, and on the outside from Mali and running for the local club Montreuil, it is Richard Diawara Matinju, 13:68 his best. But the men to watch, we think, are in the central lanes, lanes 3, 4 and 5. Look out for lane 3, Aurel Manga of France, an Olympic finalist in Tokyo 2021, 8th place there, a world indoor bronze medalist and European indoor medalist as well. In lane 4, in that orange vest, that's Asier Martinez of Spain, 13.14 his best. Had his opener to the season just last weekend in Ibiza, 13.29 there, and a world championship bronze medalist in 2022, and indeed a European champion that year. There is Aurel Manga. Another man to watch is in lane 5, Roger Iribarne of Cuba, 13.21 his best. 7th at the World Indoor Championships in 2018. It's a pretty warm evening. It's about 19-20 degrees in Montreuil, which is a suburb of Paris. And many of these athletes, of course, will be back in just a few months' time for the big one. The Olympic Games, only about 10 kilometers away from the Stade de France. But look out for lane 4, Asier Martinez, perhaps the favourite alongside Aurel Manga there in lane 3. And it is a false start, and judging off the naked eye, it does look like Roger Iribarne of Cuba may be to blame. He has the hand in the air there. Just watch that. Does someone flinch before him? No, he definitely goes first and sets off. Romain Lecour beside him seemed to be responding to it. I think he's complaining about some crowd noise by the looks of it. As we see there, yes, Iribarne, the first one before the gun. And he set off Lecour beside him, but that's a reaction to it from Lecour, so I think he'll be okay. But will Iribarne be okay? We'll soon find out. There it is, Aurel Manga, Asier Martinez beside him. Nervous times for these athletes. And especially the Cuban athlete, the world indoor finalist. Will he get away with that one? There is a decent atmosphere, but of course sometimes that can play and cause problems for these athletes, these sprinters. You need silence on that start line, and I think Roger Iribarne was just saying there was a bit of crowd noise, so often in those scenarios the judge will make a call that it wasn't fully their fault and a green card may be shown, and it looks like he has survived unscathed at the moment, but perhaps judges just reviewing that data and making that decision. A very good crowd in the Jean Delbert Stadium this evening, as you can see, for the 2024 edition of the Meeting de Montreuil. It's in east of Paris, as I said, about 10 kilometers away from the Stade de France, and a good place to be for these athletes a few months before the big one. There's lots, of course, on offer here as well. It's a Continental Tour bronze meeting, so a lot of these athletes will be seeking to boost their ranking or perhaps even hit those automatic qualifying standards for both the European Athletics Championships in Rome next month. And we do see it is a warning to Roger Iribarne, a yellow card there. I think he is explaining to the judges perhaps that the crowd just alongside that start line perhaps put him off a little.
Okay, so you move, so don't move, okay? And you don't move also.
No move also. Instructions could not be much clearer. So, the men's 110 meter hurdles to the line for this at the second time of asking. In lane 1, Elia Beccari of Belgium. Lane 2, Erwin Sina of France. Lane 3, Aurel Manga of France. Lane 4, Asier Martinez of Spain. Lane 5, Roger Iribarne of Cuba. Lane 6, Romain Lecour of France. Lane 7, Raphael Mohamed of France. And lane 8, Richard Diawara Matingu of Mali. Away they go, and another false start. Who was it that time, and was there crowd noise? Will we see a red card perhaps? Asier Martinez of Spain looked to get a very good start. Was it an illegal start? We'll soon find out. And again, there was some movement there by Roger Iribarne in lane 5. We saw the judge tell him that no moving, and perhaps just a little bit tough to hold that. But as we see, no one left the blocks illegally, so I think that again might be a yellow card perhaps for the rest of the field, or we'll soon find out. She was just setting up those hurdles again. But it doesn't look like there's any false starts there. Of course, you are allowed to have some twitching against the blocks once it's not sufficient pressure to try and leave, and as we see, it is indeed a green card. So a few teething issues, or perhaps that little bit of movement from Roger Iribarne in line 5 might have just led to that. But thankfully we have a full field still going to the line for the first race on the live stream this evening, the men's 110 meter hurdles. And France Welcome back to the coverage of the European Athletics 2024 meeting de Montreuil, a World Athletics Continental Tour bronze meeting. Apologies if you were joining us for the men's 110 metre hurdles. There was a power cut, I believe, at the stadium, and we just lost coverage for a few minutes. We will try to tee that up for you and give you a replay. But right now, the attention is turning to the infield, and the introductions are ongoing, as you saw there, for the men's hammer throw, and this is a truly top class men's hammer field, featuring the 5-time world champion Paweł Fajdek of Poland and his great nemesis, his compatriot Wojciech Nowicki, the 2020, I suppose is what we officially call it, Olympic champion, even though it was held in 2021, and of course Olympic bronze medalist in 2016. So it will be a battle of two Polish titans of the men's hammer throw, but there's plenty of other depth in there as well. Quentin Bigot of France, Mustafa El Gamel of Egypt as well, and Adam Keenan of Canada. So looking back to the track, the next race on track will be the women's 100 metre hurdles. That's coming up in about 20 minutes time, 15-20 minutes, so we'll focus on some of the action on the infield as well in the time being. We've got women's pole vault ongoing. The men's hammer is just getting underway, and we're only 10 minutes away from the start of the women's high jump. As I said, if you're picking one event perhaps tonight to watch, it would be that men's hammer. It is worthy of an Olympic final. And indeed, we have an Olympic champion and a world champion in there going head to head, and it'll be very interesting to see how that rivalry between Paweł Fajdek and Wojciech Nowicki continues tonight. They have met 124 times in total, with Fajdek winning the majority, but in recent years Nowicki no doubt has had the upper hand, and that rivalry will continue all the way to the European Championships in Rome next month, and of course the Olympic Games in Paris at the start of August. So concentrating on that men's hammer. Enguerrand de Croix Tattoo. Opening up proceedings, his best is 73.89. He's thrown over 70 metres already this year in the colours of the local club Montreuil, and that is a foul. So hopefully no more power cuts this evening. We'll be on air until 10 p.m. local time, CET. So just under 2 hours, but given those false starts before the men's 110 metre hurdles, wouldn't be surprised if we run a few minutes late, but there is plenty of time to catch up. The next track event is going to be at 8:35 local time. That's the women's 100 metre hurdles. But into the hammer cage and into that circle is Jean-Baptiste Bruxelles. 75.20 is his best for the Frenchman. He threw 74.40 at the French Winter Throws competition in February. He was the World Under-20 bronze medalist back in 2021, along with the European Under-20 bronze medalist that same summer. What can he do here? Oh, it's hard to gauge there. But that is the 70 metre arc there that he is. Of course, it's not a straight line between those two, but that is definitely approaching 70 metres there for Bruxelles. As I said, 74 metres already this year. 75.20 his best. Competes for Amiens. 21-year-old, a rising star of French hammer throwing, and he's got those world and European medals at under 20 level. Can he convert it and do it at senior level? I'm sure he'll have eyes on that prize in the years to come. The Olympic standard, by the way, is 78.20. Top 32 athletes will get there, going down the rankings. I'm sure he'll have his sights set on that. 68.89 is his opener, so a very solid start there. As you can see in the way those flags are blowing, it is a breezy night in Montreuil. It's not cold, but it's not exactly warm either. It's about 19 degrees or so. But pretty good conditions for most athletes. I'm sure the sprinters would like it a bit warmer, but no one's going to be complaining too much. This is Adam Keenan of Canada. Let's fly. And that is a big one. Looks very similar to what Bruxelles produced, which was a 69 meter throw, maybe just a little bit further. From Keenan, four-time Canadian champion. He was 11th in the world final last year, 5th at the Commonwealth Games back in 2022. He's a graduate of Northern Arizona University, is Keenan. Better known these days for its distance running powerhouse team, but well capable of producing throwers as well. 77.54 is his best. We'll see what Keenan has produced here tonight to open this competition. Here we see the women's high jumpers lining up there, ready for their introductions. That'll be getting underway in about 5 minutes' time. Stand too close to the arc, but they've given it a bit of a safe distance, thankfully. And Mustafa El Gamel of Egypt will be next into the circle. So the women's high jump introductions, Lucille Zay is first up, 184 her best, 176 so far this season, but it is of course very early days in this outdoor season. Fatoumata Bali of Guinea is next. Based in France, competes for Amiens. She was the Francophone Games champion last year. Laura Saline Aiki, 185 is her best. She jumped that indoors in Nantes last year. And then Lola Picard, second at the French Indoor Championships back in February. She also does a bit of hurdling and long and triple jumping. From Finland, Iteta Turi, 190 is her best, which she jumped the last 2 years, 181 this summer. And then from Sweden, Ellen Ekholm, 191 her best, 188 indoors to win the national title. From Turkey, this is Buse Savaskan, 191 her best indoors this year, 5-time Turkish champion, and she's within the ranking cutoff just about at the moment for that road to Paris and Olympic qualification. Ela Unila, perhaps the favourite here. She's the highest clearance to her name, that 196. It was a national record to win European indoor bronze back in 2021. And then from France, she'll have lots of home support. Solène Giquel, 192 her best. That was in February last year, indoors. She's jumped 190 outdoors just recently in May this year. And that is her outdoor PB. But I'm sure she'll have eyes on breaking, given she's started her season that way. I'm sure she'll have eyes on her overall PB of 192. And Giquel is 19th in that Road to Paris rankings. So well within the cutoff, just has to stay healthy, stay consistent. And she'll earn her spot on the French team for the home Olympics in Paris. 4-time outdoor French champion is Giquel. But back to the hammer, and it's one of the big men, it's Novicki, and his opening throw. What can he produce here? And as you see, that is massive relative to what we've seen already. And it's no surprise from the 35-year-old, the reigning Olympic champion. World silver medalist the last 2 world championships. And he's 3 bronze medals from 2015, 2017 and 2019. What has Novicki opened with here? 79.14 is his best so far this outdoor season. That was at the Kipkeino Classic in Nairobi. And he's anxiously awaiting. That looks to be, well, it's certainly approaching 80 meters, if not beyond it. That's judging off that invisible arc with the naked eye. We'll see what it actually is. Far more accurate measurement. Wait for the pros to do this. But Novicki just getting his gear on. As you can see, it is a cool night in Paris. 79.54. So Novicki takes the lead, but there's a good chance more will be required. That is a season's best for Novicki. And more may be required due to this man, Pavel Fajdek. 5-time world champion, Olympic bronze medalist in Tokyo. 83.93 is his best, but he was well below that recently in Nairobi, throwing at altitude in that Kipkeino Classic. 75.82 he threw there. So what can Fidek produce here? He'll turn 35 next month, just ahead of the Paris Olympics. Great speed in that circle. Let's fly. How big is this from Fidek? It's definitely below that of Nowicki, which we'd probably expect given their recent performances. There was 4 meters between them in Nairobi, and I would suspect that that's probably in the mid-70s from Fidek. Truly is one of the outstanding careers he put together. Often has not produced his best at the Olympic Games. Can this be the year where he changes that? He no-marked back in 2012 in London, and then bowed out in qualification in Rio. And he was winning world titles between those two and indeed after. So he'd have been expected to probably medal at both of those. But he finally got that much prized Olympic medal in Tokyo 2021, winning bronze, with Nowicki winning gold. And he's waiting, doesn't look overly pleased. And indeed 75.74 there from Fidek. Goes into second place behind Nowicki, who has seized command with that 79-meter throw to start off with. Quentin Bigot of France. He'll have lots of home support here. Returning to competition after a herniated disc operation in January last year. It's the first time he's thrown a hammer in public in competition since the Munich European Championships 2 years ago, August 2022. It's a long time away from competition for Quentin Bigot. What can he produce? What has he lost? What has he gained in all that time off? Quite a low trajectory on that one, and lots of cheers, unsurprisingly, from the French crowd. Looks to be in and around the 74-meter mark. That's a guess. The 31-year-old world silver medalist in 2019. He was European under-20 champion many, many years ago. 5th at the Olympic Games in Tokyo. As I said, returning to competition since that operation for a herniated disc last year. 80.55 is his best. It's not going to be approaching that for sure, but it's certainly what he's thrown there, making him competitive in this field. And that's what he will want as he begins that process of trying to qualify for, first of all, the European Championships in Rome next month, and then the Olympic Games in Paris. 73.79 for Bigot puts him up into third. And that is a fine start in his comeback competition. So, Enguerrand de Croix-Tetu of France, 73.89 his best. Fouled in the first round. What can he produce here in the second? Competing for the local club, Montreuil. De Croix-Tetu. Let's fly. Doesn't look like a foul anyway. It's quite a low trajectory again, and that is well beyond 70 meters. Looks quite similar to what Fidek threw, around the 74-meter mark. But it is very much early days in this men's hammer competition, and it's great to see these men's hammer throwers have the stage, be competing in the middle of this stadium. So often hammer throwers are on in a pre-program, and we don't truly get to appreciate their incredible strength and athleticism. But this is a competition worthy of taking centre stage, the men's hammer throw. Looking back towards the track, the women's 100-meter hurdlers are just preparing, doing their final run-throughs, keeping the final bits of kit on, staying warm for as long as possible. And no surprise, there will be plenty of French athletes in action there as well. And just to confirm, that was a 71.12 throw from Enguerrand de Croix-Tetu in that men's hammer throw. So we'll focus on the hammer for the time being, before going back to the track in a few minutes' time for that women's 100-meter hurdles. It is Jean-Baptiste Roussel, 68.89 opener. Can he go above 70 meters here? He's done it plenty times this year already. 74.40 his best. Tough to see where that one lands. We'll get confirmation from the rising star of French throwing, Jean-Baptiste Roussel. 75.20 his best. Just 21 years old, the Ami on floor. And that indeed is a foul, so no improvement there. That is how things stand midway through the second round. Novicki setting a high bar for any of these men to try and clear or surpass. Back in the circle, it's Adam Keenan, the alumnus of Northern Arizona University, four-time Canadian champion. 69.49, the mark he opened with. And that looks a slight improvement, perhaps. Certainly going to be close to that 70 meters, just below or just beyond it, I suspect, for Adam Keenan. 11th in the world final last year in Budapest. 5th in the Commonwealth Games back in 2022. He's a native of Victoria, British Columbia, a beautiful part of the world. And he doesn't look overly thrilled with that effort. But I think it might be a slight improvement for the Canadian. It's also early days, as you see in the background there, the women's high jump, so we'll flick across there soon. 69.25. I was wrong, it was not an improvement. And that perhaps explains his impression. Looks a bit dissatisfied. Takes a seat, but he'll have plenty more attempts to get things right and see if he can approach some of his best throws around that 74-75 meter mark. But this man is a big contender tonight, and any night really, in the men's hammer. Mostafa El Gamel. He's an 81.27 thrower at his best, but well below that so far this year, even though it's early days. 74.35 his best, which he threw in Cairo just 2 weeks ago. He's a four-time champion at the African Games, two-time winner at the African Championships. He was 7th in the world final in Beijing back in 2015. What can he produce here? That looks a big improvement on 71 meters, probably in around the 73-ish mark. But either way, it's certainly beyond the 71.56 he opened with. For El Gamel, a reminder that the lead is held by Wojciech Nowicki at 79.54 and Pavel Fidek 75.74 in second. Canton Bigot holds third at the moment with 73.79, so perhaps El Gamel may have got himself up into that top three with that. The 35-year-old. The top three at the moment are all in their mid-30s. Nowicki and El Gamel both 35. Fidek turns 35 next month. But going back to the track, because it's time for the women's 100-meter hurdles. This is a loaded lineup. And the woman at the top, Anna Zagre of Belgium, is the fastest of them all. 12.71 her best. 12.87 just last weekend. So she comes here in good form. She was a European under-20 champion all the way back in 2009. 34 years old now. There she is, Zagre. Competes for Racing Brussels. She's a three-time Olympian and very much on track to make that 4 this summer. She's outside the rankings cutoff at the moment though. She's 64th on the road to Paris list. She needs to get into the top 40 to make it. This is Solène Indama of France, 12.77 her best. 13.10 though recently. European under-20 champion back in 2017. This is Ricarda Lobe of Germany, 12.89 her best, but she has dipped under 13 already this year, running 12.99 in Florida. A 6-time national champion in Germany is Ricarda Lobe. Then it is Elena Carraro of Italy, 12.89 her best, 13.30 already this season. In lane 5, also Italian, it's Veronica Besana, 12.90 her best, 13:39 this year. Lane 6 from France, it's Judy Chalcou, 13:04 her best. She's run 13:43 this summer. She'll be looking to improve on that this evening. Lane 7 from France, it is Sasha Alessandrini, 13:05 her best, and she's run 13:43 already this season. The Côte d'Azur athlete representing Nice. And on the outside from Poland, it is Marika Majewska, 13:06 is her best. And tonight be the night she dips below that truly world-class barometer of women's sprint hurdling. So a reminder, from the inside, lane 1 is Zagra of Belgium, lane 2 Ndama of France, lane 3 Lobe of Germany, lane 4 Carraro of Italy, lane 5 Bassana of Italy, lane 6 Chalcou of France, lane 7 Alessandrini of France, and lane 8 Majewska of Poland. Fastest in the field overall is Anna Zagré in lane 1, followed by Solène Ndama in lane 2. Both of them have run 12:07 at their best. Away they go, and Anna Zagré got a brilliant start, but leading her at the moment beside her is Solène Ndama, and in the central lanes it looks like Judy Chalcou, but this is very close to call here. Veronica Bassana as well. It's going to be a blanket finish, and perhaps Anna Zagré looked to have just taken it in lane 1. Fastest in the field on personal best, and it looks like she's fastest tonight is the brilliant Belgian running for Racing Brussels. Three-time Olympian, 13:22. The time is nothing to write home about. She's run 12:87 already this summer. Not overly pleased about a 13:2, but what matters is winning, and indeed beating an international class field. Rebecca Lobe came through for second there from lane 3. But Anna Zagré got it right from that inside lane. Surprising really to see her in the inside lane, given she's, I have to say, the most accomplished athlete in the field as a three-time Olympian. She has 14 national titles, counting indoors and outdoors. And it was Veronica Bassana. We saw her probably in front, perhaps around the halfway mark, was Bassana. But indeed, from the inside, Zagré, she was definitely headed there over hurdles 2 and 3, but the strength, the technique, the power and that speed endurance all coming into play as the race wore on. Wins it from the inside lane. And you can see that facial expression. She was not too pleased, and those knees are heavily strapped with tape, so perhaps just carrying a few niggles. She's 34 now, is Anna Zagré, but targeting her 4th Olympics this summer. There is confirmation of that result. Slight headwind there, minus 0.6, but nothing too strong. And Anna Zagré will, I'm sure, have ambitions to be going much quicker than that in the weeks ahead. She will need to, of course, as I mentioned, top 40 make it to Paris for those for the world on the world ranking list. She's currently 64th in that drop down, but she'll also be looking towards the European Athletics Championships next month in Rome. So back to the men's hammer, and Enguerrand Decroix Tetou, has he improved on his second round effort of 71.12? We're about to find out. No change to the overall standings. Still Wojciech Nowicki leading with 79.54, ahead of Pavel Fajdek with 75.74. However, we did have an improvement in third from Quentin Bigot. He stays in third, but while we were watching that men's or women's 100 meter hurdles, Bigot through 75.42, so it's a fantastic return to form and indeed return to competition after almost 2 years out for Quentin Bigot. He's up to third, fighting with Pavel Fajdek for second. But out in front, all alone, is Wojciech Nowicki. And this is Jean-Baptiste Roussel, the 21-year-old Frenchman. foul in the second round. 75 meters his best. He's thrown 74.40 this year. What can he produce here? He's currently down in 7th position, but a thrower who's more than capable of contending here for 2nd, 3rd place if he's at his best. That looks to be beyond 70 meters. Certainly very close to 70 meters. The Amiens clubman in the north of France. World Under-20 bronze medalist back in 2021. Also won the European Under-20 bronze back then, and that is a foul. So things not so far going to plan for Jean-Baptiste Broussel, but is he taking a walk over there to his coach and getting some technical feedback about what exactly is going wrong there? But it's not going too wrong anyway, because he's got a 68.89 on the cards already. Adam Keenan of Canada, the 30-year-old, the world finalist last year, will have his eyes on the Olympic final this summer, no doubt. What can he produce here? 69.49 his best. Sails out, goes high, but that is not an improvement. It is being measured, but I suspect it's probably going to be pretty similar to his first couple of throws, in and around the 69 meter mark for Adam Keenan. Of course, the world lead is held by a Canadian with that whopping throw recently, 84.38 by Ethan Katzberg. The Olympic standard automatic is 78.20, which is really a vicious automatic Olympic standard, but anyone in the top 32 on those Road to Paris rankings, obviously filtered by 3 per country maximum, will be earning a spot at the Olympic Games this summer. Now just a little over 3 months away. Let's see what Adam Keenan has produced here. Next up on track, by the way, will be the women's 800 meters. You see them there just by their blocks. Well, not really blocks, but I suppose we'll call them blocks. That race is going to the line in about 9 minutes time, so it's a good chance to enjoy what is a cracking men's hammer competition, as you see Pavel Fidek face off against his old foe Wojciech Nowicki. And this man will be hoping to break up that Polish dominance, Mustafa El-Gamal. 7th in the world final back in 2015. 81.27 his best. And I'm sure he will be thinking, if I can get back beyond 80 meters, it could be on a podium in Paris later on this summer. So Mustafa El-Gamal will be next into the circle. Still just waiting on confirmation of that throw from Adam Keenan. Hasn't quite come through yet. I think that might be why Mustafa El-Gamal is just having a little bit of a delay here. He's just been held up before he's allowed into that hammer cage. And in the women's 800 meters, that's next up on track, there is a slew of sub 2 minute women, 6 of them in total, and an additional 3 who've gone under 2:01. It's a big field, 7 in total who've run under 2 minutes. But this is a good chance for us to check in on the women's high jump. And this is Lola Picard, 186 is her best. Second at the French Indoor Championships back in February. Can she get over 180 here? No, but she will have another attempt at that. 23-year-old. She's a multi-eventer, also does hurdles, bit of long and triple jump. Lola Picard. Yeah, close. Not quite close enough for Picard. Ella Junila of Finland is the best on paper in this competition with that 196 personal best, which he jumped to win a European indoor medal in Turin a few years ago. This though is Ellen Ekholm, her second attempt at 180. She's a 191 jumper, 188 indoors this year. At her best it would be easy for her, but not yet producing her best tonight. Ellen Ekholm. But she will have another chance. As we see, the flying Finns are flying high there at the top. They're both over 180 already. And indeed for Heta Turi and Ella Junila of Finland, those were both first-time clearances. Usa Sevaskan soars clear at the second time of asking. She's a 191 jumper indoors this year, so 180. As you can see, there's plenty of air there. That was a safe and clinical clearance from the Turkish athlete, five-time national champion. And I mentioned in the introduction, Sevaskan is currently 32nd on the Road to Paris rankings. And how many athletes get to Paris? 32. So every competition will count. And again, this being a World Athletics Continental Tour bronze label competition, there are some good bonus points. So a win here for Sevaskan would go a long way to boosting her ranking, or indeed a high finish. So the bar is still at 180. With Laura Saline Ayeki soaring clear. But the start list back on track for the women's 800 meters. And there is plenty of quality in this field. As I mentioned, 7 women who've gone below 2 minutes. We'll see if they can do it tonight. Erin Wallace will certainly be one to watch there. She's run 2:01 at her best. Alongside Anita Lemieux, 1:59 is her best. Kiprotich. This though is the fastest athlete in the field, Vivian Chibet Kiprotich, 1:58.26 her best. Anna-Marie Nissen and Adriana Topilnica. Nissen from Denmark, Topilnica from Poland. Nissen's 2:00.10 her best, and Topolnica has run 1:59.86. This is Maita Kohlberg of Germany, 1:59.24 her best. Agnes Rahoralai, certainly one to watch there from France. On the left, 1:59 her best. And then beside her, the fellow on-running athlete, Charlotte Piso. Tigist Girma of Ethiopia will no doubt be in contention as well, 1:59.72 her best. And there is Olga Lyakova of Ukraine, 1:58 athlete at her best, has come back from maternity leave, she is an Olympian. And beside her, that is Anis Bourgoin, 2:00 flat her best, 0.86. Olga Lyakova, of course, a European bronze medalist back in 2018 and 2 European indoor medals in 2017 and 2019. And then on the inside from France, that's Eugénie Morel, 2:02 is her best, so it might be up against it in a field of this strength, but we suspect the strongest athlete may well be Vivian Chibet Kiprotich. She's in the all-black strip there in lane 7. I expect her to feature strongly. She finished second, and it was a close second to Mary Moraa at that Kipkeino Classic on home turf in Nairobi. That was just last month, and she's a bronze medalist at the African Games back in April, is Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic. But you can see she's taking it quite handy there in this big field. It is a sizable field. She's right on the outside, just settling in mid-pack at the moment as they go through 200 meters. It is a pretty swift pace right now. Pacemaker's leading this out. And Kiprtic is just drifting into contention there, up along the outside. And Agnes Rahorale and Charlotte Pizzo there, I think it is, in second place at the moment. Indeed it is Pizzo in pole position at the moment behind the pacemaker, 57.11. So Pizzo is really going for this, the French athlete. She's never broken 2 minutes. Can tonight be the night? Inspired on home turf, Pizzo. Now she's going to have to be brave from here. 300 to go. And Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic has unsurprisingly sensed the danger and has gone after her. But Pizzo could be on for the run of her career here. As I mentioned, 2:00.96 her best this year. She's never broken 2 minutes before. But she hit 600 meters there in 1:28. She is well on track. Can she produce a 31? Can she bring this home? But Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic, the favourite for this, looks to be ready to strike on the outside. Pizzo leads, but here comes Kiprtic, the 1:58 athlete already this year. The strongest form in the field, and she is the strongest as they turn for home. Agnes Rahorale also coming home very strongly, but Kiprtic hanging on out front, digging in. It is the Kenyan, the 28-year-old Kenyan, kicking clear. Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic holds on. It's just under 2 minutes. Charlotte Pizzo of France will be very close, perhaps heartbreakingly close to 2 minutes, probably just outside it there, but she ran so bravely going after that. Confirmation that Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic, that's unofficial for now, 1:59.76 for the Kenyan. She gave Mary Morat, the world champion, a good run, not too much of a fright. Recently at the Kano Classic, Morat so tough to beat. But Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic ran that to perfection. Perhaps wise, just sitting off that pace, recognised how fast it was going, that 57 seconds. And Charlotte Pizzo really did go for it there. She hung on well. Given how fast she went out, she could easily have tied up badly, but fighting for all she was worth for that sub-2 clocking. And let's see if she managed to get it. But no doubt about the winner, Vivian Chebet-Kiprtic, a class apart on this night. And there is the result. And good to see plenty personal bests down the field. A lot of them will be saying thank you to Charlotte Pizzo for pushing that pace on after the pacemaker dropped out. But it is a PB for her in third, and Anis Bourgoin with a personal best in second. 2:00.86 was her best. 2:00.31 now. Also personal best for Charlotte Pizzo in third. Maite Kohlberg in fourth, season's best for her. And Erin Wallace in fifth of Great Britain, 2:01.03. She also snares a personal best. Takes about a 1/10 of a second off her personal best, does Erin Wallace. So plenty personal bests as we go down the field, and we're looking over towards the women's pole vault. Next up on track, it's going to be the men's 800 metres. But we'll first focus, that race is coming up in about 6 or 7 minutes time, the men's 800 metres. But back to the pole vault. Still early days, but this is Hannah Kleckner at 4:50. Goes clear, season's best for Kleckner. She's delighted with that. The Hungarian, 4:56 is her best, so to go over 4:50, it looks like she had a bit of room to spare, so we may well see Kleckner going higher again. This is Marie-Julie Bonin of France. 4:56 is her best. The Bordeaux vaulter, European under-23 champion last year. Back in 2019, she was a European under-20 silver medalist. but in very good form this year. Jumped 4:53 indoors. She represented France at the World Championships in Budapest last year and will have her eyes on the prize of both the European Championships and the Paris Olympics this summer, and she looks to be well over 4:50 at the second time of asking is Bonin. Suitably delighted with that clearance. Lots of room to spare there from Bonin. As I mentioned, 4:56 is her best. She could well have eyes on soaring higher into the Parisian sky tonight. Marie-Julie Bonin. Excellent clearance there. She goes to the head of the standings alongside Hange Kleckner. First and second as the two athletes to go over 4:50, but as we mentioned, it's early days still here at the meeting de Montreuil. We're on air for a little more than an hour to come. Next up on track will be the men's 800 metres, but back to the high jump. And it is Solène Giquel at 1:83. Her first attempt is unsuccessful. She is a 1:90 jumper recently, her season's best. Straight back over to the pole vault. Lightning quick editing skills here. And no joy for Alban Dordain. She bows out of the competition with a best of 4:40. 4:53 she jumped indoors. And everyone having those eyes on the Olympic qualifiers. Dordain, I'm sure, will be also doing similar. Back to the high jump. And Laura Céline Ayiki of France. Her second attempt at 1:83. Cleared 1:85 indoors back in January. This was January last year. It's within her wheelhouse. But not on this occasion. She will have one more attempt. 1:80 is in fact her best this year, so let's see if she can approach that once again. Back to the pole vault. And Imogen Iris, the New Zealander, 4:54 is her best. Can she get over 4:50? It's her third and final attempt. And that is clutch jumping from the 23-year-old New Zealander, Imogen Iris, three-time national champion, Commonwealth bronze medalist back in 2022, the Auckland student. Studied exercise science at the University of Auckland. And whatever she learned in the classroom was put to good use there, because up she soared, up and over 4:50. And she joins Kleckner and Bonin as the only three athletes to have cleared 4:50. But we have some more attempts to come. Back to the high jump. Ellen Ekholm, the 28-year-old, looking to clear 1:83 here. Ekholm was a European under-20 bronze medalist back in 2015. Two-time Swedish champion. And as I mentioned, with 32 places on offer at the Olympics, she's currently 43rd, so a good finish and a high jump tonight would serve her very well, but it's not to be over 1:83 at the second time of asking. The Ulevi club woman, she cleared 1:88 indoors, but she will have one third and final attempt. But back on track for the men's 800 metres. And it is another loaded field and another big field for this. Elias Ngeni is the fastest among them, the Spaniard with a personal best of 1:43.84. That is Ludovic Lemeur of France, 1:46, his best. The man beside him there is Elias Ngeni. Trains with Wyclef Kinyamal, a very successful Kenyan 800 metre runner. He was fourth in the Olympic trials back in 2021 in Kenya. He was also fourth in the Kenyan trials for the African Games earlier this year, so perhaps he can break his duck on that front. This is Corentin Leclesio of France. He has run 1:45.24 just a couple of weeks ago, so rides here in flying form. On the left is Tony van Diepen of the Netherlands, and on the right Alvaro de Arriba of Spain. 144 both these men have run. And de Ariba, of course, was a European champion back in 2019. Tony Van Diepen, a 400 metres and 800 metre runner. Recently helped the Dutch to 4x400 metre bronze in Glasgow at the World Indoor Championships. This is Francesco Pernici, a 145.2 athlete. He ran in Budapest last year, also ran at the World Indoors in Glasgow. On the left, Ethan Hussey, another athlete who will certainly feature here. On the right is Anachet Kozar of France, but Hussey is a 144 athlete. He's run 145 already this year. European under-23 silver medalist last year. Coached by Andy Henderson. And this is Haytham Shinitef of Algeria. 146 his best. And then completing the field is Zina El Abidine Lagoun of Algeria and Youssef Banzamia of France. Both of them have run 146 at their best. But the men we expect to feature strongly here, perhaps the two men sharing lane 5, Tony Van Diepen and Alvaro de Ariba, along with lane 3, Ethan Hussey, and of course in lane 7, Elias Ngeni of Kenya. Look out too for Francesco Pernici, 145.2, the young 21-year-old, and certainly a rising star for Italian middle distance running. And Corentin Leclesio as well, the 24-year-old Frenchman. He was World University Games silver medalist last year with that bleached hair. He's in lane 6 is Leclesio. So a bit of a more faulty start, we'll call it.
On your mark.
Alvaro de Ariba, the most accomplished man, I'd say, in the field in terms of championships. European Indoor Bronze back in 2017, European Indoor Gold in 2019. He's won at 3 World Championships and an Olympian, has the Spaniard, 29 years old, 144 his best, but he's probably a better athlete than that tactically because 144.8 is not that fast on paper, but the Ariba is a tough man to beat historically. He's a very technically astute runner. So we'll blast through the first 200 metres here, and you can just see by the way they're spread out, this is a quick pace. Look at the distance there between first and last. Strung out in single file, this is moving along swiftly as they hit 300 metres there in about under 38 seconds. So this is probably going to be about 51 at the bell if they go with this. Not all of them are too keen to go with it right now. They hit 400 metres, 50.07, and we see some of the big contenders there just hanging towards the rear of the field, such as Ethan Hussey of Great Britain. Kenya's Elias Ngeni is one of those leading the charge at the moment, but the pacemaker is going to step aside very soon. You see Tony Van Diepen and de Ariba there just moving up as well, up into second place essentially at the moment, as they're going to hit 600 metres now. 1:17, 1:18 on the clock, so this is very fast. And it is Alvaro de Ariba, the Spaniard. He ran 145 indoors this year in Madrid. Flying performance. He's chasing qualification for the Olympic Games. He has run a brilliant 700 metres, but can de Ariba bring it home? He is out on his feet at this point, but everyone is in 800 metres. Alvaro de Ariba, though, is strong. He is powerful. And he is bringing this home. How fast can Alvaro de Ariba go? It's just outside 145, and he is a street ahead of the rest of the field, who finish in a blanket thrown over them there. But Alvaro de Ariba, what a fantastic start to the outdoor season for him. As I mentioned, he raced lightly indoors, but a 145 indoors at altitude, a little bit of altitude anyway in Madrid, showed that his winter training had progressed well, and Alvaro de Ariba is, having run at the Olympics in Rio, looks to be on his way back to an Olympics this summer in Paris. 145.36. It was Francesco Pernici coming through for second. Another 145 to his name. But not much to choose between the rest of the field. But shooting out of that pack up the back straight was Alvaro de Ariba, the Spaniard. And that will have done his qualification chances for the Paris Olympics, no harm at all. 48 men will get a place in Paris in the 800 metres, and currently on the road to Paris drop-down rankings list, Alvaro de Arriba is 49th. He does not yet have the Olympic standard of 1:44.7, but I'm sure if he gets the right race in the weeks ahead, he can run much quicker than that, because there's no doubt Alvaro de Arriba has hit the ground running this outdoor season. 1:45.36. Francesco Pernici takes second, and then Corentin Leclesio third in 1:46.76. And surprisingly, Elias Ngeni not really featuring there, despite having run 1:44 already this summer. Well down the field there at the finish. And that was the men's 800 metres. Next up on track is going to be the men's 400 metres. That's only about 5 minutes away, so stay tuned for that as we look back towards the pole vault, and Imogen Iris with a personal best there of 4:57. Suitably delighted there, talking to her coach. You love to see it. Brilliant, well done, a handshake and a big cheer for her. 4:57 for Imogen Iris. We just about caught that. 4:54 was her previous best. Indoors this year she jumped 4:48. Three-time national champion, the Commonwealth bronze medalist, has got a personal best in Montreuil. Back to the high jump, and Heta Turi, no success there for her at 1:83. And now it's Busa Savaskan. First attempt over 1:83, and here she is on her first attempt at 1:86. 1:91 indoors this year she cleared. She has 5 national titles in total, and as I mentioned, she's right on the bubble right now, just inside that bubble for Olympic qualification. But a long way to go still. Another 6 weeks or so, that window will stay open for Olympic qualification. But if she could get a win here tonight with those bonus points and a good height, it would do her no harm whatsoever. Back to the pole vault, Marie-Julie Bonin. Second attempt at 4:57. It's not successful. This would be a lifetime best for her. 4:56 her best. The Bordeaux vaulter, European under-23 champion. A real rising star of French and indeed European pole vaulting. She won a medal as well back at the European under-20 championships in 2019. Competed for France in Budapest last year, went out in qualification there, and will hope to be donning those French colours with pride in the Stade de France, just about 10 kilometres or so away from this stadium in a few months' time. Not too pleased about that failure, but she'll have a chance to go again. Back to the high jump, and it's another one of our flying Finns, Ella Junila. 1:86 first attempt, and that is successful, and that is the season's best for her. But she's jumped much higher. 1:96 her best. That goes back a few years to the European Indoor Championships in Poland 2021, where she won bronze. She's 2 indoor Finnish titles, 2 outdoors titles, and while she doesn't yet have the automatic Olympic standard of 1:97, she is well within the rankings cutoff. She's 14th on the drop-down list, 32 to go. So she'll be in Paris, she'll be in Rome as well next month for the European Athletics Championships. As we look back towards the high jump, and it is her compatriot Heta Turi, second attempt at 1:86, but no success there for the Finnish athlete. She cleared 1:90 the last 2 years. She's yet to do that this year, but it's very early days. Sorry, she has also... No, yes, she hasn't. 1:81 is her best this summer. Racing along here, and Busa Savaskan is going to be next up. And it's a good chance to check back on the men's hammer. Canton Bigot once again has thrown 75.42, down in third place at the moment. Was that an improvement? We're in the 5th round, and really there's no change from where we left them a couple of rounds ago. Novicki out front with 79.54, Fidek in second with 75.74, and Bigot in third with 75.42. He did not like that, and that's why it was a little bit down on his two best efforts so far, Quentin Bigot. But remember, he's coming back from surgery early last year on a herniated disc. His first competition in, was it, a year and 9 months now since those European Championships in Munich. And this is Heta Turi, her third and final attempt at 186. She has cleared the season's best this evening of 183. So it's been a good night regardless, but she'll very much want to get over 186. But looking back to the pole vault, and Marie-Julie Bonin, her third and final attempt at 457. This would be a lifetime best for her. It looked very possible that last time. On her second attempt, reigning European under-23 champion. She went 448 indoors this year. Personal best goes back to last year. Can Bonin get a personal best? And looks like she just felt something. Oh, you hope that's not a big injury. Perhaps hopefully just a bit of cramp, but you could see it in her facial expression. As she was hitting top speed on that runway, just felt something in that left leg. And we hope for Marie-Julie Bonin, the reigning European under-23 champion, that that's nothing too serious. The rising star, 22-year-old French vaulter. Because a big summer ahead with multiple championships on her radar. But back to the track for the men's 400 metres. And this is a loaded lineup full of some of the top talent from Europe in those central lanes. You see a lot of these guys at the European Athletics Championships in Rome next month. A reminder that tickets still available online. Will be a great addition. Starting from the outside, Azea Boers of Netherlands, 45.42, his best. In lane 7, Luca Cito of Italy, 45.65 he's run this year. Looking to improve on that, the Milan athlete. In lane 6 from Switzerland, from Zurich, Lionel Spitz calls himself the baby-faced killer, and you can see why. Well, you can see the baby face anyway. We'll find out soon enough if he's a killer, but he definitely has the talent to win this race. 45.25, his best European under-23 silver medalist last year. But this man could prove a problem, a big problem. Alex Haydock Wilson of Great Britain, 45.08, the Londoner, European bronze medalist in 2022 and the reigning British champion at 400 metres, coming here fresh from the World Relays, or not so fresh, probably a bit jet lagged, from Nassau last week, where he helped Britain to qualification. This is Gilles Biron, another big contender here, competed for France in the 4x400 metres at the Tokyo Olympics, helped them to silver last year in the relay in Budapest, originally from Martinique, two-time French champion at 400 metres, and he recently ran 45.36 in Kenya. In lane 3, another big contender, Ramzi Angela of the Netherlands, 45.42. He ran in South Africa back in February, and he helped the Netherlands to 4x400 metres silver at the Tokyo Olympics. This is Ludovic Ucheni of France, 45.87 his best, 46.52 this year. So if he could get a top 3 place in a field of this quality, I'm sure he'd be ecstatic. And on the inside, Younes Chatoui of Morocco, 45.79 his best. This is his outdoor season opener. So once he gets to that finish, he'll have a season's best. But the lanes we think should feature most prominently here are lanes 3, 4, 5 and 6. They are, in order, Ramzi Angela of the Netherlands, Gilles Biron of France, Alex Haydock Wilson of Britain, and Lionel Spitz of Switzerland. There is Gilles Biron, 45.05 his best, and that excellent 45.36 recently at the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi last month. Two-time French champion, who represented his country with such pride in Budapest last year, helping France to silver medals. And of course, he is an Olympian in Tokyo, and he will very much want to be one this summer in France. So from the inside, lane 1, Chatoui, lane 2, Ucheni, lane 3, Angela, lane 4, Biron, lane 5, Haydock Wilson, lane 6, Spitz, lane 7, Cito, and lane 8, Isaiah Boers of the Netherlands, and it's a pretty even start. But you see Alex Haydock-Wilson looks to have fairly ripped through that first 150 metres. He is right up on Lionel Spitz at the moment, and Spitz will have to go some to stay with the Briton at the moment. The Londoner has flown through the first 200 metres, and inside Gilles Biron now starting to come back, the Frenchman on home turf. But it is Haydock-Wilson turns for home in front, but Biron is coming on that inner lane. And Ramsey Angela as well has a lot of work to do at the moment. But it is right now Biron and Haydock-Wilson, and also going very well is Luca Cito of Italy. And Cito versus Biron right now. And it looks to be Luca Cito with the upset here. Is Luca Cito going to do it? I think he is. On the outside in lane 7. Luca Cito, 45.65 was his best. But he appears to have upended men much quicker than there with a huge personal best from Luca Cito. The Italian is in flying form. The Milan athlete. He takes down Gilles Biron and Alex Haydock-Wilson, who are much quicker on paper on personal bests. A lot of 45-second men in this field, and Luca Cito has beaten them all with an excellent run in lane 7. And with just a few weeks to go to those European Championships in Rome, he'll be very excited, I'm sure, about the prospect. Luca Cito with the run of his life to take victory here in Montreuil. You see Haydock-Wilson there really did go out hard. Perhaps chasing that sub 45 second clock, and he'd been in good form, but you can see there the last 30-40 metres the legs just went from Alex Haydock-Wilson, and it was Luca Cito powering down the outside. Visually it looked like he was accelerating. Of course that's not the case. Everyone is dying at different rates in that last 50 in the 400 metres. He just died a little less than everyone else, held his form brilliantly to power home to a huge personal best. Takes 0.3 of a second. A big jump forward for Luca Cito, and an excellent win. That would have given him plenty of bonus points and ranking points on the road to Rome and indeed Paris this summer. Huge run from Luca Cito. Next up on track, it's going to be the women's 100 metres. Got plenty of action ongoing in the field between the men's hammer throw, women's high jump and women's pole vault. And back to the men's hammer, Jean-Baptiste Broussel, down in 7th position at the moment with 69.03. Can he improve on that, the Frenchman on home turf? 75.20 is his best through 74.40 back in February. Can he go beyond 70 tonight? Big roar, big cheer from the crowd. It's very close to the 70 metres, might just crept beyond that 70 metre arc. It is an invisible arc in all our minds at the moment, but you can kind of superimpose it if you watch enough athletics, and that looks to be in and around the 70 metre mark from the rising star of French throwing, Jean-Baptiste Broussel, the Amiens athlete. Right on the edge of that circle there, leaning over it. Gives it a big roar as he lets fly, but he doesn't look overly pleased with that throw. I'm sure he knows, as a man who's thrown close to 75 this year, he knows he's capable of much better than 69 or so. $69.92, and he is not happy. I'm sure if it was 70.00 he'd be a whole lot more content going home tonight, but it is 69.92. He will stay in 6th place, Jean-Baptiste Broussel. Next into the circle, Mostafa El Gamal of Egypt. He's thrown 74.35 already this year. His best tonight though, 71.56, has him down in 5th place. And he hoists himself up into that top 3. He'll need a 75 metre throw to do it. He's more than capable of that, having thrown 81.27 at his best. 2-time African champs, gold medalist, 4-time African Games gold medalist. Lots of speed in that circle. Big roar. And it's well beyond 70 metres, we can say that with certainty, but his best so far tonight, 71.56. Is it an improvement? Perhaps a metre or two on top of that. A reminder that Enguerrand de Quat de Tout is in 4th place at the moment on 72.28, so that would probably be the mark he's targeting, trying to move himself from 5th up to 4th. Olympic standard, he does not yet have it, 78.20, but ranking points will be crucial. World finalist back in 2015 was El Gamel. And he's awaiting confirmation. It looks an improvement for sure on his opening effort. 71.77 it's just come up as. So he stays in 5th position, and El Gamel not too pleased about that, as you can see. And next up it's going to be the Frenchman, Enguerrand de Tetu. 72.28 his best tonight. Tetu. His PB is 73.89, so he's getting very close to that, is the 27-year-old Frenchman. He'll need something massive for him to get up into the top 3, because Novicki, Fidek and Bigot have all gone beyond 75 metres. Novicki, of course, out there alone on 79.54 right now, but Tetu, that's not an improvement. Looks like he just didn't catch it. Very low trajectory on it, and he will have to settle for 4th place tonight with 72.28 for Enguerrand de Tetu. Gets very low there and just tries to loop up out of it, but yeah, he knows by the way it left his hand. Usually these throwers, they're so skilled, they're so experienced, that really as soon as that hammer leaves their hand, they tend to know. They could often probably predict within a metre of where it's going to land as soon as it leaves. You often see him celebrating long before it hits the ground. And he knew as soon as that left his hands, that wasn't right. But 4th place tonight for Enguerrand de Tetu. Now, Quentin Bigot is in 3rd place at the moment. The Metz Metropole athlete. This is at his first competition since August of 2022 for Bigot. 75.42. It is an impressive start. He'll be looking towards the European Championships in Rome next month, and indeed the Paris Olympics in the athletics program starting on the 1st of August. It's a big summer for any athlete, especially any European athlete, and it's been a fantastic comeback for Quentin Bigot. 80 metres 55 is his best, and his first competition for about 21 months, close to 2 years. Quentin Bigot has mixed it with the world's best, 75 metres 42, and this is going nowhere. So no improvement on the final jump, hits the cage. Bigot steps out of the circle. Won't be too pleased about how it ended, but he'd have to be very content with how it fared overall, because he has pushed Pavel Fidek, a 5-time world champion, right to the line here, coming up just 30 centimetres or so short of 2nd place. But it's a fine 3rd place for Quentin Bigot, and a good night's work on his comeback competition. So the women's 100 metres is next on track. 8 athletes going to the line here, and as you can see, 6 of them are French. It's a loaded field. And starting from the inside, this is one of them, Lohane Gerbier. 11.69 is her best, so she may be up against it in a field of this caliber, because there are women who've run in the low 11 seconds, standing I should say, and waiting in those central lanes. But Lohane Gerbier, 12.01 her best this season. She'll be looking to get into the 11s. In lane 2, Orphée Neola of France, 11.15 is her best. 11.61 already this season. In lane 3, also from France, is Cynthia Leduc. 11.30 is her best, and 11.45 she's run this season. Fastest woman in the field is alongside her in that Puma kit, Orlane Ollier of France. 11.06 she ran, but that was all the way back in 2018. She's 32 now, but she's still running very well. She ran for France at the World Indoor Championships earlier this year, reached the 60-metre semi-final. She was injured last summer, but she is an Olympian from Tokyo in the 4x100 metres. And alongside her from Portugal is Ariales Gandula. She is a former Cuban, represented them until 2021 before changing her allegiance. Now based in Portugal, running for Benfica, 11.17 her best, and she ran 11.78 last weekend. But Delphine Nkanza, who's run 11.45 this year, she will no doubt feature the Belgian, 11.22 at her best. Alongside her, Sarah Richard Mingas of France, 11.41 she's run this year, which is also her personal best. And on the outside, also from France, is Vided Atatou. She's run 11.38 at her best, and just a bit of a rust buster earlier this year with 12.10, and I'm sure she'll be looking to get into the 11s here tonight. As I mentioned, it is not a warm night, but it's not really a cold night either in Paris. Temperatures in the high teens and dry conditions. There were a few thunderstorms forecast. They have thankfully held off in Montreuil. Lane 1, Lohan Gerbier. Lane 2, Offri Niola. Lane 3, Cynthia Leduc. Lane 4, Orlan Olaye. Lane 5, Arialis Gandula. Lane 6, Delphine Nkanza. Lane 7, Sarah Richard Mingas. And Lane 8, Vided Atatou. Away they go, and going very well there in lane 3 is Cynthia Leduc, but also out in lane 6 right now it's Delphine Nkanza. But Leduc and Nkanza, these two look to have it, and Nkanza powering home there from lane 6, the Belgian, 11.34, takes victory. Was between those two. Arialis Gandula of Portugal didn't really feature very strongly at all, as we perhaps expected in lane 5, but Nkanza of Belgium, 11.22 her best. She's run 11.35 here tonight. Really just showed superior speed and endurance, perhaps just coming home in that last 30-40 metres. Excellent run by Delphine Nkanza. We'll await confirmation of the wind, but no doubt about the winner. Delphine Nkanza has made the short journey from Belgium and has been successful. The wind was a pretty stiff headwind as well, minus 1.1 for Delphine Nkanza, and it was Orlan Ollier in second. Cynthia Leduc took third with 11.71. Yes, indeed, it was Ollier there and not Leduc who was in contention. Ollier against Nkanza, pretty much locked dead level at the moment for much of the race, but Nkanza in that last 30 just came through stronger than Ollier. 7.18 Ollier ran there in shot earlier this year for 60 metres, and we certainly saw that 60 metre speed coming through. There she is in that opening half of that race, but Nkanza proved the strongest coming home. Delphine Nkanza confirmed, and that is an impressive run into a 1.1 headwind, with Orlan Ollier taking second, 11.50, and Cynthia Leduc third, 11.71. That was the women's 100 metres. Next up on track, it's going to be the men's 100 metres. That's coming up in just a couple minutes' time. They're pretty much good to go, doing their final run-throughs. We're just running a couple minutes behind schedule. We had a few false starts earlier, and a power cut at the stadium as well. But we're catching up quickly. And Delphine Nkanza certainly caught up quickly in that women's 100 metres. Powers clear over the final 30 metres. And just to mark your card, coming up after the men's 100 metres, it will be the women's 1500 metre final. That's about 10 minutes away only, and then we'll be wrapping up action with the men's 1500 metre final on the track at 9:48 p.m. local time. So just about 20 minutes away now, but plenty action ongoing in the field. With the women's high jump, the bar is up to 194 there. The men's hammer has also concluded. Wojciech, that has stayed as it was, took victory with 79.54 ahead of Pavel Fidek. No one could improve in the final round there. And of course the women's pole vault is also ongoing with Imogen Ayres. That remarkable personal best from her, 4.57 at the first attempt, and the bar is now up to 4.57. But back to the high jump, because it's Ella Unila, one of the Flying Finns, on her second attempt at 194. Unsuccessful, unfortunately. The European indoor bronze medalist in 2021, Unila. equals the meeting record here this evening with that 190 clearance. She's the only athlete over 190, so she's won this competition and by some distance. Buse Savaskan of Turkey finished second with 183. And Unila's Finnish compatriot Heta Turi finished third with 183, as we hear from Canton Bigot. And back to the action on the track. The men's 100 meters is next up. A reminder that the Olympic standard is 10.00, a vicious Olympic standard. 56 men get to go to Paris on the rankings. So a lot of these men will be looking to boost their ranking here tonight. 8 men will go to the line for the men's 100 meters, which is now just a couple of minutes away. 3 track events remaining, men's 100 meters, but we'll look back to the high jump because this is an attempt at 194, the final attempt for Ella Unila. It's not to be tonight, but she has a victory and she has a 190 clearance for the Finnish athlete. She will be on her way to the Paris Olympics this summer, and it's a victory tonight for Ella Unila and her compatriot Heta Turi. Joining her in the podium in third, and in splitting them it was Turkey's Buse Savaskan. But men's 100 meters, let's focus on the track for the moment because this is France's Dylan Vermont, 10:33 his best. In lane 2 is Hassan Taftian of Iran, 10:03 is his best, an Iranian record. And he's run that twice, and both of them are in Paris, 2018 and 2019. Can he produce more magic in the French capital tonight? He's a 2-time Olympian. Gary Noah Jirel Bibi of Mauritius is in lane 3, 10:12 is his best. 10:28 this year, he ran at the African Games in the opening round there. He made the final there, didn't run his best in the final, clocked 10:50, but the 23-year-old should feature here. Most people will know, athletics fans will know this man well enough. Arthur Cissé of Côte d'Ivoire, 9:93 his best. He ran 10:48, well below that at the Kipkeino Classic in Nairobi in his season opener. Obviously well below his best, but they'll be looking to improve on that here. This is Portugal's Carlos Nascimento. He's making his outdoor season opener. He ran 6:69 for 60 meters indoors. He was an Olympian in Tokyo 3 years ago, 10.13 his best. This is France's Harold Achiyao, 10.18 is his best. That goes back to 2022. He opened his season in recent weeks. He's run 10:23. Season's best was actually last weekend. That's why it's not quite updated there on the graphic, but 10:23, so he'll be one to watch, will Achiyao. And this is Dorian Keletala of ART, that's the athlete refugee team, formerly of Congo. He's a Tokyo Olympian. He represented the ART team as well at the Oregon World Championships. And lane 7 was due to be Marvin Rene, but he's missing, unfortunately. So Kaletala on the outside will have lots of space. In lane 8, 10:27 is Kaletala's best. Runs these days for Sporting Club Lisbon. Based in Portugal. The fastest man in the field, on personal bests anyway, is Artur Cisse in lane 4. But alongside him, Carlos Nascimento on that green and white stripes will certainly feature strongly here in his outdoor season opener. And look out too for Harold Achillot of France. 10.23 last weekend. Can he get into the 10.1s here? The central lanes, it should be very close between them. It's an even start, and Artur Cisse is out to a flyer there in the middle, but alongside him, Gary Noah, Jarel Bibi going well, but it is Cisse at the moment of Côte d'Ivoire pulling clear, but flashing down the outside in lane 6 is Harold Achillot. He looks to have got a 10.36 on the clock unofficially. I think Achillot may have stolen that in the final 20 metres. Cisse had complete command at halfway, but he surrendered it coming home because the long striding Achillot down the outside, we mentioned with the 10.23 last weekend, he'd be one to watch. He has got the job done in that blue Puma kit. 10.35 and he wins it comfortably. Doesn't look overly thrilled about the time, but a win is a win. And that's what matters most. Plus, and the wind has changed there from the women's sprint. It's now a plus 1.1 rather than a minus 1.1. But I'd imagine there's a bit of crosswinds or perhaps a swirling wind going on. Might not have been as big of a help as it looks on paper, because obviously with a wind legal 10.23 last weekend, you'd probably expect them to run a bit quicker. This evening with a good tailwind there. A reasonable tailwind, but it is a victory on the night for Harold Achillot of France. Doing it in style in front of his home crowd, and you can see here in lane 6 he is really slow start compared to his rivals, but he is a tall athlete, very tall, well over 6 foot, and the shorter stature of Cisse carried him out of the blocks like a bullet, but couldn't quite hold it together. Cisse. It is nonetheless a season's best for Cisse. He's at least improved on his season's best, down to 10.41 in second, and Hassan Taftian of the Islamic Republic of Iran in third with 10.50. But the winner, representing the local club Montreuil, Harold Achillot. 10.35 with a 1.1 wind. He takes victory. Confirmation of that result as our hammer champion is now down in the mix zone, Wojciech Nowicki.
Le public de Montreuil, c'est la surprise ce soir. La victoire de Harold Achillot, Montreuil 93.
That was your men's hammer throw champion, Wojciech Nowicki. 79.54 confirmation of that victory. It is a season's best for Nowicki, looking to successfully defend his Olympic title in Paris this summer. And there is confirmation of the men's 100-meter final. And indeed, that initial +0.1 wind was in fact incorrect. It was a -1.1 wind, which perhaps explains the times not being world-beating. Certainly Achiao is capable of much quicker than 10:35, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that in the weeks to come. But a very good win for the local Montreuil athlete on home turf here in the suburbs of Paris. Next up on track, it's going to be the women's 1500 metres. There is a big field, and a field loaded with talent there, headed up by the Spaniard Marta Perez. Lots of low 4-minute athletes in that field. Can they threaten that 4-minute barrier? And then they'll finish off with the men's 1500 metres. 10 minutes after that, just now only 10 minutes away. Field action has finished up. Confirmation in the men's hammer that Wojciech Nowicki took victory with 79.54 ahead of his nemesis Paweł Fidek of Poland, 75.74 for second, and then Quentin Bigot taking third in his comeback competition, 75.42. Fidek and Nowicki have had a long and storied rivalry. They've clashed 124 times. I could scarcely think of two athletes in world athletics who faced each other more than that. Score is 87-37 tonight. Before that to Fidek, so it's now 87-38. Nowicki has had much the best of it though in recent years, winning the last 12 battles they faced, so he will be going towards the Paris Olympics as perhaps the more favoured of the two poles. But here is the field just on the start line for the women's 1500 metres. Fastest in the field, as I mentioned, was Marta Perez. She has 9 national titles, does the Spaniard. She was 6th last year in the World Road Running Championships over a mile, and she was an Olympic finalist over 1500 metres in 2021, this Soraya athlete. Lots of talent there against her though on the start line. Mebrit Mekonnen of Ethiopia though will surely feature as well. She's run 4:03 at her best, 4th at the World Under 20 Championships back in 2022. The French are of course well represented as well. Aurora Fleury, she's run 4:03 at her best, that was back in 2021. 4:09 she ran recently in Karlsruhe, and she's a 2-time French champion is Fleury. From Italy is Marta Zanoni. She's run 4:05 at her best, that was just in recent weeks, so she arrives here in very good form. She's a former World Under-18 medalist and a European Under-23 medalist. Bronze and silver she's won at those competitions, but the 25-year-old Italian now up in the big bad world of senior athletics, and she's making tracks. No shortage, of course, of talent in the women's 1500 metres in Italian athletics, but I'm sure she'll have her eyes on snaring a place, certainly at the European Championships in Rome and perhaps also at the Paris Olympics in the summer. From the Netherlands, Marisa Damink is in here. She's run 4:05.84 earlier this month, a lifetime best. She was 10th last year in the World Road Championships over a mile. Look out for the 28-year-old Dutch woman, Damink. Another Ethiopian, Nijist Getachew, will certainly feature as well. She's run 4:05.93 in Huelva in Spain last month. Former 400-metre, 800-metre runner, now stepping up. But an accomplished 1500-metre runner as well. From Portugal, Salome Alfonso, 4:06.04 her best. She made the World Indoor Final in Glasgow earlier this year, finished 8th there. She's got 12 national titles in Portugal. And on the road to Paris, Alfonso is within the ranking cutoff. The Olympic standard, of course, is 4:02.50. She hasn't run that, but Alfonso is 29th on the drop-down list and 45 places available at the Paris Olympics. So these athletes just waiting on the start line there. You can see Zanoni there, the tall Italian in the orange and blue kit. 3 from the outside, alongside her in the dark Adidas kit, that is Perez. They should both feature strongly here. So we'll see what sort of pace gets laid down. You know, in the men's race to follow, they're looking towards the Olympic standard of 3:33.50. A reminder that the Olympic standard is 4:02.50. Only one athlete in this field, that is Perez, has ever run it. And Perez, of course, an Olympic finalist in Tokyo 3 years ago. She was in flying form indoors, was Perez. She ran a Spanish mile record at the Millrose Games in New York back in February of 4:23. That is a fast mile time. Converts to something around 4:04, I would suspect, for 1500 metres. And of course we saw evidence of that in her performances, but she hasn't run much yet outdoors yet. She hasn't run on the track yet outdoors, has Perez. She ran 15:48 at the podium 5K in London last month. So just getting in some early season over distance work was Perez. But now things start to get serious as she returns to the track for her specialist distance. And it is a decent pace, but it's not too quick because as you can see they are very much bunching up there. The pacemaker might have to just step on the gas just a little there. And they are now starting to tow out a little bit more as they hit 300 metres.
Amoui Abera qui a réalisé le 22 mars dernier 4:06:09, vice-championne d'Afrique, qui a pris la tête, qui a devancé le lièvre pour tenter d'aller peut-être encore plus vite. Ça se passe bien au niveau de la Webland et toujours en tête Amoui Abera pour l'Éthiopie.
Et les athlètes qui sont toujours en avance sur la Webland, Amoui Abera qui mène cette course toujours largement en tête devant Mébrit Mekonnen, une autre éthiopienne qui est en deuxième position. Et on regarde un Français qui est également dans le peloton.
Voilà, les Françaises qui tiennent pour l'instant avec deux Éthiopiennes en tête.
So back on track, we've run 600 metres here. There's a decent pace being laid down. As I mentioned, the Olympic standard 4:02.50. And it is Howie Abera leading out the field ahead of Mébrit Mekonnen. They're approaching 800 metres here, which is reached in about we have the split there, 2:12. So it is a decent pace being laid down here. It's about 4:04, 4:03 pace, and Perez has taken up pole position in second behind Abera. And now coming through there, that is Salome Alfonso, number 10. And there is Zenoni. We mentioned her beforehand. Former underage medalist at global level under 18 over 800 metres, but she's focused on the 1500 metres in recent years. And Zenoni looking very strong here, takes the lead with 550, 600 metres to run and is pressing this pace along. But that is Nigist Getachew right on her shoulder right now, looking poised. And then back on the inside there is Marta Perez. But it is bunched up with a lap to go. We are looking at something here in the low 4-minute range. They're about 3:01 at the bell, so it's looking like around a 4:05 race. Might be a little bit quicker if they can close from here. Salome Alfonso there back in 5th place at the moment on the inside. But it's all to play for Marta Zenoni. But now with 300 metres to run, Nigist Getachew has struck for home. Howie Abera, though, her compatriot from Ethiopia, is right on her. And now coming around the outside there in that Asics orange and black strip, that is Salome Alfonso of Portugal. But with 200 metres to run, it is Getachew ahead of Abera and then Afonso. And Getachew looks strong. She's a 4:05.93 athlete at her best. She could be on to break that. How close can she go to the Olympic standard? But it is Nigist at Getachew powering for home with 100 metres to run. Howie Abera holds second at the moment, but there is a cluster of athletes fighting for that second place. But there's absolutely no doubt about who's going to come home in front. How quick can she go? 4:05, her personal best. Nigist Getachew sprinting for the line. I think she's just going to miss it. 4:06.17, but she takes victory ahead of Howie Abera, who's also going to be very close to her personal best in second. But Getachew left it all out there. She got the victory. That's by far the most important thing, and with a very impressive final 300 as well. And she was brave there, Getachew. She took her time. She saved herself for that final lap. And when she got to 300 to go, she put her rivals to the sword and really went for it. Dropped the hammer with 300 to go, and you could see her paying for it in that last 50, and by the look on her expression there on her face, she looks to be paying for it even more now. It's a dark place after the line for most 1500 metre runners. I'm sure it would feel a little bit better if she broke her personal best, but she went very close to it, just 0.2 of a second outside it for Nijist Getachew. You see there the early pacemaker, that was Silvana Gajca of Poland. She had a bit of trouble getting to the front, but she got there eventually, towed them through the first 600 metres. And then it was Hawi Abera, then Ethiopia in that black strip, taking command and pushing things along, doing the rest of the field a favour. And then of course Marta Zanoni of Italy soon took up the running on the penultimate lap, but she couldn't quite hold it together. Could Zanoni, came home in 4:10.52, having run 4:05 last month. I'm sure she won't be too happy with that, Zanoni, but she tried to get rich or die trying in athletics terms, and she really went for it in that middle section. Again, athletes, they are of course racing each other out there on the track, but with two major championships for any Europeans coming up, they're also chasing ranking points, bonus points, placing points, and fast times to qualify for either Rome next month, the European Athletics Championships, or indeed the Olympic Games in Paris. So confirmation, Nijist Getachew takes victory, 4:06.16. Her compatriot Hawi Abera in second with 4:06.46. And it was the Netherlands, Marisa de Mink, coming through for third in that pack, 4:07.31. And a solid season opener on the track for Marta Perez, 4:07.53 in fourth. Just one event to go in Montreuil tonight, and night has truly fallen as the clock ticks closer to 10 p.m. and we're just a minute or two away from the start of the men's 1500 metres. And there is a big field, and a field loaded with quality in the men's 1500 metres. As the cameraman zooms quickly in on them there, we'll get a shot. And this is a field loaded with talent, including a 3:30 man in Charles Simatwo of Kenya. Look out for him, he's in that dark Adidas strip there, number 8, and alongside him in the orange strip is his compatriot from Kenya, Kamar Etiang. He is a 3:33 athlete at his best, but look out too for the Frenchman Baptiste Michler. 3:32 is his best. He ran that in Monaco 3 years ago, qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. He was 4th in the World Under-20 Championships, was Michler, back in 2016. And he also won a European Under-20 silver medal back in 2015, so he'll be flying the flag for the home crowd here, but we'd expect the two Kenyans to feature strongly. Charles Simatwo has not been in his best this year, 3:39 his best so far this season. That was at the Kipkeno Classic at altitude in Nairobi. There's a good bit of altitude in Nairobi, so anything above 800 metres starts to become very, very difficult, so I wouldn't read too much into his 3:39 clocking there. I'm sure he's capable of going much quicker, and I believe he is indeed intending to go chasing that Olympic standard tonight, which will get him into the Kenyan trials. That is 3:33.50. Look out for him in the dark Adidas kit there. He's just behind that photographer is Simatwo. Beside him is the tall figure of Kamar Etiang, the 21-year-old. He was disqualified on home turf at the World Under-20 Championships 3 years ago, but that was really his breakout year. He did qualify, having finished second at the Kenyan trials in 2021, to run at the Tokyo Olympics, but because of that rules brought in around anti-doping tests and the number of out-of-competition tests needed, because he kind of sprung from the dark, I suppose, to make that team. He was a young up-and-coming athlete at the time, only 18 years old. He didn't have sufficient out-of-competition doping tests done that year, so he was unable to take his place at the Tokyo Olympics. There is Etiang in the orange vest. Also in here from Kenya is Daniel Munguti. Look out for him, 3:33. He was 3rd at the Kipkeno Classic, so we'd expect him to feature quite strongly here. He is in the blue kit towards the outside there. 3 from the left, Munguti. Quickest in the field this year with that 3:33, and remember that is at altitude, so they're going to get after it here with the help of some pacing lights. Targeting, and Munguti has settled in behind the pacemaker there, number 12. in the blue Nike kit. Munguti, well, he is a world champion as part of a team with Kenya. Just, what was it now, about 6 weeks ago, he won the World Cross Country Mixed Relay. They were streets ahead of Ethiopia and everyone else at that World Cross Country in Belgrade, and he has settled in here, and it doesn't look like an overly arduous pace at the moment, but it is sensible, at least, as they go through in about 42.5 seconds. So it's probably going to be about 57 seconds at 400 metres. And again, 56 is 3:30 pace, so 57, assuming that's what they hit, they'll be looking at about 3:33, 3:34, and it looks like a good job done by the pacemakers. 56, I think it was 56.5 there going through, so the bulk of that pack are going to be in the 57s, which is a very sensible first lap, and it's now been pushed on by the pacemaker, Ludovic Lemour, doing the pacemaking here, the Marseille athlete. But the field have to get on this, and right now it looks like Kamar Etiang is not showing, well, he's showing the most initiative of those in the pack to push this along, but the others don't seem that interested, and he doesn't seem overly interested in following this pace. And if any of those athletes, Kenyan or otherwise, want to have a go at that Olympic standard of 3:33, they've got to stick with this pace, because it is slipping away from them. These two pacemakers have been employed, and really they're essentially useless at the moment. They'd be as well stepping off the track, because they're doing the correct job. They're following the pacing lights. They're giving these athletes behind them the opportunity, but the athletes are not taking it at all. And Daniel Munguti now moves to the front, but really they've fallen off the pace quite significantly here. 154.76 at 800 metres. They will be well outside 155 as they go through, so they will need a big close if they're to try and trouble that Olympic standard, but it looks like they're probably not going to do it. But it is Munguti now leading the pack ahead of Samatwo and Etiang, and then it is Ruben Verheyden there, the tall Belgian, moving up. He is a European under-23 champion back in 2021. He's a 6-time national champion from Belgium with a season's best of 3:36. Look out too for Maël Guyot of France moving up there on the outside. He's a 3:35 athlete, his best. Flying the flag for the French athletes, but you could throw a blanket over 12 of these athletes. So this is about 11 or 12 of them as they come up with 400 metres to run. But it is Daniel Munguti, the fastest man in the field this year, who holds the lead as they hit the bell. And this is a sign of just how much things have slowed for these athletes. And it is Flavien Schott now who's hit the lead. It is Schott ahead of Guyot. It's the two Frenchmen, 3:36 and 3:35. They've run at their best. They're not going to be troubling that tonight, so this is not about times whatsoever. It's just a foot race at this point, and there's 250 metres to run. And the three Kenyan athletes, three of the quickest in the field, are nowhere to be seen at the front right now, as Flavien Schott turns for home ahead of Maël Guyot. Can the two Frenchmen hang on? And then Verheyden there, the tall Belgian, moving up into third. Can he launch something over this last 150? But it is Maël Guyot strikes for home with 130 metres to run. It is Guyot ahead of Schott, and then it is Ruben Verheyden. Can he spring something? It doesn't look like he can, because at the moment it is Maël Guyot. He has timed it to perfection with a big kick. Takes victory on home soil in Montreuil. 3:37.08 on the clock. An excellent run by Maël Guyot, 3:35 athlete. He took his time, he played a patient game. 3:37, it's not far off his best, despite the pace really slacking quite significantly there over that second and third lap. The athletes just not quite chasing it. Perhaps the weather being a bit cool, a bit of a breeze blowing in the stadium tonight. They thought maybe tonight's not their night to try and run fast, but what we saw was a great race. And it was the Turkish athlete there, Mehmet Şilek, coming through for third. What we saw there, Daniel Munguti, he tried to really push it on and he tried to take command, but I think the Kenyans, maybe some of them travelling, I'm sure, a lot of travel in the legs versus some of these local or athletes based a lot closer to Paris, and perhaps that played out over that final lap, because it was Maël Guyot of Haut-Bretagne Athlétisme kicking clear down that last 100 metres. 3:37.07. Flavien Schott, the Toulouse athlete, takes second place in 3:37.54, and it was Mehmet Şilek of Turkey, 3:37.56 for third, and a season's best in fourth for Ruben Verheyden of Belgium. Excellent run by him. And the leading Kenyan was Kamar Etiang, all the way down in 8th place. Charles Samatwo back in 10th with 3:39, and Daniel Munguti Pouty only 11th in 3:40. So it was a race where the Europeans dominated, and the two French athletes, Gouillotte and Schott, dominated most of all. And lots more of these kind of races to come, and lots of championships to come. It was very much a good experience for a lot of these athletes in being tactically astute and positioning, and it was expertly done by Maël Gouillotte. 3:37 takes victory with a flying last 200. Just saved his energy until he needed it most, and then he spent it very wisely down that last 150. So that is the final bit of action on the track or field at the meeting de Montreuil. Thank you for joining us here over the last couple hours, and we'll just pause for a moment as our French champion Maël Gouillotte is down in the mix zone.
Il y a quelques instants, rendez-vous mercredi prochain du côté du team de Marseille. Si vous me permettez, je voulais également remercier toute l'équipe qui était au micro aujourd'hui, Hélène Richter, qui est évidemment déjà en train de faire une télé, Alexandre Brunel, Gilbert Ledel, qui était là-haut à la corde, Jonathan Blot, Kevin Legrand, qui était avec Sport en France et également le journaliste de Sport en France. Merci également à Son Plus, merci beaucoup, messieurs. À très bientôt et vive la paix, vive le sport. On s'est régalé à Montreuil. Merci à vous. Ciao.
So a brilliant victory there from Maël Gouillotte rounds out the action, and it is appropriate finish for the home crowd at the meeting de Montreuil. It is a French winner on a night where French athletes were very much to the fore, and we look forward to that being the case, no doubt, on the road to the Paris Olympics and of course the road to the European Championships in Rome next month. And the good news, this is one of the first meets that European Athletics have streamed this summer, but there will be lots more to come. European Athletics will be streaming at least 36 meetings from the World Athletics Continental Tour, silver, bronze and challenger meetings on the road to the Paris Olympics in a little over 2 months' time. So lots to look forward to. Stay tuned to the European Athletics channels. Lots more action to come in track and field in this wonderful sport. But for now, from me, Cathal Dennehy, I'll sign off from the 2024 meeting de Montreuil. We'll see you again soon.
Merci.